Welcome back to Table Talk. I'm Andrew and this is Benny, and today we are talking about the wide world of Disney. We're ranking every single Disney Villainous villain you can play so far, every single expansion, as I love Disney and I think this is the definitive Disney board game. So we're getting to my rankings based on a couple of things, most of all fun. And what's interesting is when I actually first played this game, I did not have fun with it. When I first played this game, I was super excited because it looked so thematic, the art looked so cool, and I love that every time you played, you could be a different villain and the game would work a little different. By the end of it, I was super bored, and my wife Claire looks at me and goes, "That was a terrible game." And here's why: because on the box, it lies to you. It says 2 to 6 players, and what it should really say is 2 to 3 players. Maybe 4 if you're really into it, because every player is about 20 minutes. So at 2 players, it's a back and forth, quicker 40-minute game. At 3 players, it's a nice 60-minute game, a little more diversity. But at 6 players, which we played with a terrible teacher, it was around 2 hours waiting forever for your next turn. So when I played it later on at 2 players and later on with my wife at 2 players, we enjoyed it a lot more, and I ended up loving it, getting every single expansion as I love Disney. If you don't know about this game, it's called asymmetric, so every villain has a unique board and deck and hero deck going against them, and so all of them work a little different. It's the same rules, but it's cool because it's just a different flavor, a different goal, and we're going to get into which are the best based on fun, most importantly. Also, how much I like the movie and villain. If it's maybe so difficult that it's annoying or so easy that it's too simple, that hurts. Also just how thematic the villain is and how interesting they are. So, with all that criteria, let's get into it, starting with my number 21. Number 21 is Mother Gothel from Despicable Plots, the villain of Tangled. Now, why is this my last villain? Honestly, she's kind of annoying to play, because you're slowly trying to get trust from Rapunzel, but like every card in your deck is taking it away. So it feels like you're doing a lot and just not getting very much out of it. Plus, I like Tangled, I like Flynn Rider, but Mother Gothel is, I mean, kind of mid, as the kids would say. And honestly, I don't have a ton of fondness for Tangled. She's not like a classic, memorable villain, and that's why she is my number 21 villain. My number 20 is the original evil queen under the sea. That is Ursula from the Evil Comes Prepared core box. Now, this is not a hot take. A lot of people find her annoying because she's really, really difficult. Now, I love Little Mermaid, but once again, I don't have a huge affinity for Ursula. And her mechanic, it's interesting, but it's really difficult because she cannot like defeat heroes. She has to give them these contracts. So it's just kind of confusing, kind of difficult, and just honestly not my favorite. So that's my number 20. My number 19 is the cover villain of Evil Comes Prepared. It was a huge letdown, and that is Scar. My wife played Scar, and she's like, it's fine. The problem with Scar is he's trying to defeat heroes to make a succession pile so he can become king, a la Lion King, which I love Lion King. It is my favorite Disney movie of all time, and I love Scar. But what he's trying to do, it's just really hard, and it just takes a while. And so, and it's just kind of tedious. I don't find it super interesting or fun. That's why he's my number 19. It's a bummer. I would still play him, though, and that is Scar. My number 18 is a hot take, because she's actually a really good villain to play because she wins a lot, but that's kind of why I don't like playing her. It's almost too easy and simple, and that is the Queen of Hearts. From the base Worst Takes All box, she's the villain of Alice in Wonderland, which also doesn't help because honestly, I love Disney, but I think Alice in Wonderland is a trash movie and a trash property. I don't get it. I get that it's like weird or whatever and trippy, but like I'm just not a fan. So I have no affinity for her. She's a good one to pick up and learn, but like her hero deck is not challenging at all, and it's just almost too easy to win. So that is why she's at the bottom of the list. Let's go to my next pick. My number 17 is another bummer because he is one of my favorite villains of all time, and that is Hades from the movie Hercules. And he comes in the Wicked to the Core box. Now, I love Hades. I love the comedy of Hades, and I love the art style and the characters on his board, the Greek mythology. But he is a really difficult villain, and I think some of it's interesting. Like, he has this chariot, he can go around and get extra actions. But his whole goal is try to get the Titans to Mount Olympus, and it's like this slow trudge as they can like barely move. And then there's so many hero cards that just stop them, or they can't move anymore, or they're stuck. And that can just be really frustrating, but I still think he is interesting, and he's one of my favorite villains, so I would always want to play him, and that is Hades. My number 16 villain is a classic, a newer villain, the cover villain of Despicable Plots, and that is Gaston. Now, I love Beauty and the Beast. I think Gaston is a great villain, and honestly, I think he's fun to play. But he's just pretty average, and so that's why he's further down the list. I love playing almost every villain here. I just like some more than others. So he's just kind of fine. He's decent. His goal is not super interesting or thematic. He has to remove these obstacles to get Belle's attention, which is not like the main plot of the movie, and it just kind of feels like you're removing stuff and then adding stuff. But I do think they're interesting mechanics. I love all the heroes in Beauty and the Beast, all of the household items from Beast Castle. So it's still a fun villain I would like to play. And that's why he's at the bottom, just because he's just an average villain. Gaston. Number 15 is from one of the most unwatched Disney movies of all time. Not unwatchable, just unwatched. And that is from The Sword and the Stone. Some of you guys don't even know that was a Disney movie, but it is. It's about a young Arthur learning from Merlin. Kind of weird, but the villain in that is an evil witch named Madame Mim who tries to defeat Merlin. She's from the newest expansion, Bigger and Badder, and I do enjoy how unique Madame Mim is. She is trying to defeat Merlin as he transforms to different animals, and she's transforming into different animals. I just think it's kind of a little one note. I like that it is different, but it's just kind of, you have to get this transformation card and have the Merlin out with this. So I don't love that, and I like underrated Disney movies, but I don't have a huge amount of affinity for Madame Mim. She's a cool villain, she's fine, and that's why she's lower on my list. My number 14 is the OG Villainous herself, one of my favorite villains of all time. That is Cruella de Vil from 101 Dalmatians, the cover villain of Perfectly Wretched. And I really like Cruella de Vil. She has a cool aesthetic, the Dalmatians. I like her objective. She's got to get these 99 puppy tokens. She's just honestly kind of difficult to play and hard to win. She can get messed up really easily. So even though she's a villainess I love, and she has a really cool objective, it can just kind of sometimes be frustrating to play her. That's why she's... My number 13 is the cover villain, the Bigger and Badder expansion from one of my favorite Pixar movies, that is Syndrome. I was so excited when I saw that they were adding Pixar villains to Disney Villainous, and that opens up a whole new world of villains, and I love Syndrome. I love also his objective in this. He's trying to defeat the Omnidroids, and so he wants heroes to defeat them, but then eventually he doesn't want any heroes, and he's got to stage it to make himself look like the superhero. I think he's a really fun character, but also, like the ones lower on this list, he can just be sometimes difficult. I like the lead up to his endgame, but his endgame is really tricky because you have to have 0 heroes on your board, which can be really tough to have not happen. But I still think he's a fun character in kind of the mid-tier of my list, and that is Syndrome from The Incredibles. My number 12 is one of the most fun villains to play. He's very different. He's just here because I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of him as a villain, and that is Dr. Facilier from The Princess and the Frog, found in the Wicked to the Core expansion. Now, Dr. Facilier is trying to find and take over all of Louisiana, and he has this fortune deck he's trying to sift through and find a certain card, and needs to get a card to get there. So I like kind of that risk, that gamble of seeing if you can finally pull it off. I just don't have a huge amount of nostalgia for Prince and the Frog. It's a newer movie, like Tangled. And, I mean, he's a decent villain, but not one of those iconic favorites I had growing up. So that is why he's here in the middle of our list, Dr. Facilier. Let's go to the next one. My number 11 is from arguably my favorite Pixar franchise of all time, and that is Lotso from Toy Story 3, found in the Bigger and Badder expansion. Now, I love Toy Story. It's just an incredible movie. Toy Story 3, fun fact, the closest I have ever been to crying because of a movie. Just an incredible movie. And that is why Lotso is up there. I mean, I just love that movie. I love the heroes in his hero deck. They are all of your favorite Toy Story toys. And I think it's a really cool objective he has as he's using his minions at the daycare to slowly sap all the strength and will from the heroes and keep Buzz Lightyear on his side. And I just think that is a really cool objective. He's only here in the middle because he is a little trickier. Sometimes he can be harder to win with. But besides that, he is just a great character from a movie I love and just a great villain. That is Lotso. Going into my top 10, this might be a hot take, but he is one of my favorite villains from one of my favorite Disney movies, which is also a hot take because I think it is very underrated. And that is Prince John, the villain from Robin Hood, found in the Worst Takes All core box. Now, I loved Robin Hood growing up, watching it. Just an incredible, incredible Disney movie. And I love playing him because his objective seems simple. All you have to do is get 20 power. And so it's a great one to start with. But it's actually more nuanced than you would think. Yes, you could just go for power. But he has really cool cards that you can set up because the Robin Hood and his merry men are going to try to take power from you, and you're going to use the sheriff to take the power back. And so I just think he's a lot of fun. I just love that movie. I love how he works, even though he's a little simple, and that's why he's my number 10, Prince John. My number 9 is the cover villain for the core box itself, the Worst Takes All. That is Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty, another underrated Disney movie in my opinion. And I love playing Maleficent. Again, she's a pretty simple character to play, a good one to start with, but I just think she has really cool card play. I just love the aesthetic. I love the movie. I love that she can like turn into a dragon and has all these evil minions. It's just a lot of fun. My number 9, Maleficent. My number 8 is from, in my opinion, another underrated Disney movie, a modern classic in my opinion, Yzma from The Emperor's New Groove. Now, she is found in the Evil Comes Prepared box, and she is one of my favorite villains to play because she is trying to chase after Cusco, just like the movie. He's hiding in decks, and she has to keep Kronk on her side. So it's very chaotic, very fun. It could end quick, it could go long, it could be whatever, and that's why I love Yzma and Emperor's New Groove. That's why she's in my top 10. My number 7 is from the most underrated, slept-on Disney movie of all time, from The Great Mouse Detective. It is Ratigan, also found in the Evil Comes Prepared box. He is this rat crime lord trying to sneak a robot queen into Buckingham Palace, or at some point he could transform into his rat side and just be trying to take out Basil, the Great Mouse Detective. And I love that about his character. It just fits the movie so well that his objective can actually change. And I love how his character uses gears and items and an airship to slowly transport this robot queen. He has a lot of expensive cards, but he has cool, interesting ways to be able to purchase those cards. I just think he is a great villain, a great design character from one of my favorite Disney movies, that is Ratigan. My number 6 is from one of the OG movies, one of the most iconic villains of all time, and that is Lady Tremaine from Cinderella. Coming in despicable plots, I just think her objective and how it works is so, so interesting. She can't just defeat heroes, she has to lock them up, so all the mice and the birds that help Cinderella, and I just think that's a blast. I think it's cool how she is trying to get her stepdaughters married to the prince in this special location. She has to transform them into having ball gowns, and she even has a card that can reset the entire board. I think it's super interesting, super nuanced, a little complicated, but a lot of fun. That is Lady Tremaine my number 6. My number 5 is the OG. That is the original villain of the Mickey black and white cartoons, Pete. And he comes in the Perfectly Wretched expansion. And I think his art, his aesthetic, the heroes, the villains are so cool because it's that throwback retro black and white Disney cartoons. And I love his objectives too. He has these different tiles, so every game his objectives are different. Where he has to accomplish them, how he does it is different. And I love all of his cards can be used in different ways for those different objectives. A lot of fun. That is my number 5, Pete. Number 4 is one of my favorite Disney villains of all time. I've been saying that a lot, but he comes from Peter Pan and the core box itself. That is Captain Hook. And Captain Hook has a super fun objective. It's pretty simple, but it shows a lot of the nuance of the game. And he's trying to unlock where Peter Pan is, find him, and then take him out at the Jolly Roger. And I love he has all of his pirates, and you're facing off against the Lost Boys in this awesome Neverland world. Ah, man, I just love Captain Hook. That's why he's my number 4. My number 3 is from a personal favorite Disney movie. I don't think it's actually that great of a movie, but it's from one of my favorite book series of all time, called The Chronicles of Prydain. Probably haven't heard of it. It's like Narnia or Lord of the Rings, and it used to be a classic, but a lot of people haven't read it. And the second book in the series, which they tried to mash up with the first into a Disney movie, and it didn't really work. That's why I don't think the movie's that great, but it's still one of my favorites, is from the movie based on the second book in that series, The Black Cauldron. And that is the Horn King coming in the Despicable Plots expansion. And the Horn King is this evil overlord in this fantasy world trying to spawn undead soldiers called Cauldronborn. So it's kind of dark, but it's really cool how he's doing it, and I love the fantasy world and just the heroes and just how unique of a villain he is. I love that he's one a lot of people haven't heard of, and I love the book series growing up, so that adds a lot to it too, but I also think he's a fun character to play. That is the Horn King. A number 2, if you've counted down, there's 2 options left, and that is another villain from the core box, Jafar. I love Aladdin. I love Genie. Just an incredible, incredible movie, and I love Jafar. I love the movie. I love the villain. But also, I love how his character works because he has to get the lamp. He has to open up the Cave of Wonders. He has to get the genie under his control and do all of these things. And it just fits the movie. It's so interesting and it's so cool. And that is why Jafar is my number 2. Number 1 is... Actually, if you're still here, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. I love talking to you guys in the comments. I'm surprised anyone watches these, so I appreciate it. And also, at some point, I would like to rank every single Disney movie of all time on this channel. It's not about board games, but I still think it would be fun. I want to do it, so let me know if you would actually watch that or be interested in it. I'm pretty sure every single one. I want to rank them all, like 58. I think it would be dope. A long video, but dope. And let's get to now my number 1. My number 1, if you've been counting, there's only one left. The cover villain of Wicked to the Core. That is the evil queen from the OG Disney animated film, Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. And I love the evil queen. She's an iconic villain, but also the way she works, she has to brew potion, brew these spells to get into the dwarves' cottage and slowly poison everyone until she gets Snow White to take a bite, the poison apple. And I love it because the dwarves are the heroes and they like pile up and combo with each other, and then you're just poisoning them left to right. I just find that a blast. I think she's a super interesting character to play. Just super iconic from a great film. That's going to round out Disney Villainous, ranking every single villain. I hope you enjoyed. And with all that being said, I'm going to catch you guys on the flip side.